actually launched the first Lean Sensei in 2016, and we've had some time to reflect and get some good feedback from people. And I want to kind of share with you exactly how you should be looking at the Lean Sensei, how it can really affect and help you in your company. So I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go over a few slides. Then I'm going to demo the new Lean Sensei. So why is it called the Lean Sensei? Number one, the best Lean Senseis that I've worked with in Japan and with TDK and with Toyota and Honda, and I've done a lot with them, and even in the US with some American senseis. The best senseis are the ones that ask the best questions. They're really not the ones that give you the best answers. They're going to be the ones that challenge you and make you a better person and make you look at all angles, right? So the reason we call this the Lean Sensei is because it's going to challenge you by asking you questions as if someone very experienced would ask you in a lean world, and make you think about how you can improve. So AME's model is, really looking at key deployment processes and feedback, and then organizational improvement, and then those all things result in performance results like quality, cost, and delivery. And so this is kind of the model that we put towards the AME Lean Sensei. People want to take the models and check the boxes, and that's not what it's all about. It's unfortunately, the road isn't straight, and so everybody's on a different path in the journey. So how do you create an assessment where people in every area of each journey can really benefit? So you got to really develop a mindset. So when I think about lean, my acronym for lean is living engaged attitude now. Are you living it? It's not just something you do at work. Can you find your keys in 5 seconds or less? How organized are you at home when you could be spending time with your family and friends and hobbies? I want you to think of lean as a mindset. It's how we can continue to better ourselves and better the company that we're in. So this is a difference, and so different people and different companies are on different stages of the journey. And so we wanted to start looking at that, how we can benefit anybody in any stage of the journey. So world-class athletes, they're highly effective, but they have to practice it. Lean isn't just something you do one time and check the box and move on. It's something that you have to continue to repeat and be repetitive about. It's these events that you do, it's not a one-time deal. It's how you can develop that culture where you're always trying to improve and you're continuing to have hundreds and hundreds of Kaizen events or events to improve. So, it's a struggle because you don't want to, a lot of problems comes up when you aren't sustainable. And so you have to think about it, the right ways. So again, these 65 questions that are in the new Lean Sensei will really try to challenge you as leaders to be better in your company and to be thinking about yourselves as well. Now, before in 2016, we had 60 questions. The new Lean Sensei has 4 additional questions on technology and also 1 on diversity, equity, and inclusion. So those were things that were missing in the Sensei. So we've added that to the new Lean Sensei, and I'll get to showing you that in just a minute. In my personal journey, when this started many years ago, I was my supplier was Sure Seal when I was at Acuity Brands Lighting, and Sure Seal's in Cincinnati, and it's a great company that makes gaskets. First day I walked through Sure Seal with Mick Wills, and he was the owner and ran production there. And you couldn't walk through the place, and you could see that there was a culture that had been there for years, and people did not believe that anything was going to change. So I worked with Mick, and one of the things that we had a goal for was we wanted to receive the AME Award in 4 years. It was a goal that we set out there. And I think the AME Award is separate from the Lean Sensei assessment. The Lean Sensei assessment is a tool to see where you are, whether you apply for the award or not. But the AME Excellence Award gives you a goal to reach for. And so this helps you get there. Now, we had a long ways to go in 4 years. So what we did, we took the criteria for the AME Award and we broke it down and we cut it out and we put it on a war room wall or a conference room wall, as you can see here. And we had the different questions. And so then we said, okay, we want to prove each of these questions visually, and we want to prove it in writing. And so if we can't prove it, then what is our gaps? And who owns this in the plant? And so the Lean Sensei assessment is a 4-wall individual plant. So if you have multiple plants like Kohler does, we can actually apply for many different, if that's a goal of ours. So you can also benchmark each question. So this is how it all started on a wall. And I would recommend you do the same thing if you go through the AME Lean Sensei. Create your war room and try to prove visually and in writing each one of these questions. And so this is kind of how it all started. And so some of the pictures after they received the AME Award at one of the annual conferences, you can see very visual plant. We had very good metrics on quality, safety, delivery, productivity. One of the things that made them unique is Mick is dyslexic, but he's a genius visually. And so I would teach something and he would make a poster and put it in the lunchroom for the team to be all engaged in. The other thing that he did when I gave him a layout in Excel of the plant, he gets a ping pong table and works with his team and lays out the entire plant in Legos down to the people, the trash cans, the machines, the racks. And like, this is brilliant because everybody came over and saw where they were working and saw how things flowed. And they all gave suggestions. All 110 employees gave suggestions on how to improve it. So we were engaging them. And so after that, we created a future state Lego layout of how it was going to be after we finished our transformation. And then Mick says it best: people aren't afraid of change, they are afraid of uncertainty. I totally believe that. So what are those people talking about in the office? How is this going to affect my job? They're not afraid of change. They're afraid of how is this really going to work? They're afraid of uncertainty. So you have to be overly marketing. I think everybody's job is 25% marketing. How do you know what's coming? How do you know what's been happening? And how do you know this is affecting the plant? So after we did the Lego layout, we actually put a board out in the plant, and each month we had our Kaizen events on there, so everybody in the facility could see when we were going to get to them, when we were going to get to doing an event to make the changes for the future state layout. So just some background. I went back a few years later and Mick's like, hey, Mark, blue and yellow make green. And I'm like, yeah, I realize that. So he's taking it to a next level. And he's like, okay, the material flows in at the point of use. So instead of having a 30,000 square foot warehouse, they put all the materials from raw materials at the point of use. Then it goes through the process in the yellow, which is the processes that adds value to the raw material. And then it's going to Main Street, which is green and finished goods, high quality finished goods, all the way to shipping. So of course, blue and yellow make green. So it's a really nice visual as well to see in that regard. I just wanted to briefly go over some of the background of where the Lean Sensei came from. And so from that, we got with the awards committee, Larry Anderson, Pat Wardwell, Michael Bremer, many others. And we said, okay, let's see what we're doing to train assessors that go in and assess for the AME Excellence Award. And let's put together some really great questions and come away with a really good assessment that people can use to see where they are on the journey versus just here comes an assessor and they're going to tell us where we are. So you can kind of preview where your gaps are and do something about it, whether you really apply for the award or not. So how to use it: evaluate your operations today, understand how you rank against others that have won the AME Excellence Award, develop improvement plans for the future. So I'm going to stop there a minute and go to the, if I can, go to the, excuse me. Let's see. All right, so this is the, hopefully, Jeff, give me a thumbs up. Can you see the AME Excellence Award? All right, so this is the thing that is the new AME Excellence Award that is actually on the AME website today, that you, if you're a member and you have a member number, you can download it. We made it membership, the membership. If you're an AME member, you know, and there's many ways to become an AME member, then you can download this, and it will really help you in your journey, and I'm about to explain how. All right, so the first thing that you can see is it's a little different. Of course, I'm kind of a nerd when it comes to Excel, and I realized that I have links, and so I created a dashboard with links in it. And so this one main dashboard tab links to all the other tabs in the workbook, so you're not taking time to look at different things. So for instance, if I click on the Lean Sensei questions, which is the step 1, then I have the questions. Number 1 is policy deployment. Number 2 is management system. Number 3 is leader standard work, and so on. So you have all of these 65 questions. So just like in school, in my opinion, a F is harder to take than a 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. So we did the school grading. So A plus, A. And so what's also nice about the Sensei is you can read this and see kind of where you fall into these letter categories. So a robust strategy exists, clear focus on a critical few. Even an F says no strategy or deployment or strategy exists. And so as what you would do, you would come over here, click on the where you would put your letter grade, and maybe I want an A plus, and so I change it to A plus. All right, so A plus means in the proof and gaps, I have to give proof of why I'm an A plus. So I would go in there and write in why I'm an A plus and why I meet this criteria for policy deployment. And so you would do that for the 65 questions. And so once you did that, you can come back and a little home icon, and it links you back to the dashboard. So that's how easy this is now to go back and forth with. The next thing you'll see after you put in your scores, it automatically calculates a report card. And so you have each question. So policy deployment, I gave myself an A plus. And so that's automatically there. So this is each question and category, and it shows you what, you know, you gave yourself as far as your full report card for each question. It even gets better. So after that, you can click on the radar chart, and you can see the line in the middle is what you scored, and the stars are what the average award recipients' points are. So how are you compared to the people that have won the AME Excellence Award in the past? And you can kind of see where your gaps are or where your opportunity might be. The next thing is the comparison analysis. So if you want to see the points you have and the differences in your points versus the recipient's points, you can kind of see that, and it automatically says either you're close or keep driving improvements or you're on the journey. And it just gives you some relationship to where you are versus the other winners of the recipients of the AME Excellence Award. All right, so another big thing that was changed during COVID for me that I changed on this was a visual pyramid. I'm very visual minded. So I wanted to see at one glance how I'm doing with each question. So if you click on the visual pyramid, you can see I gave myself an A plus in policy deployment, and it's dark green. I gave myself an F in management system reporting, so it's red. So you can kind of see in one screenshot exactly where your gaps are and where your strengths are based on what you gave yourself during the AME Excellence assessment. The other thing that that is exciting is that if you click on any of these boxes, say for instance, I need help with management system reporting or morale, I can click on morale and it links me to tools and training topics that will help you, like in morale. It also links you to some of the webinars. So if you want to click on this, you can watch an hour webinar on this Making Developing People Job 1 in Lean. You can click on this and see an hour webinar on new employee engagement. Eventually, AME will offer different classes on these subjects. I've also taken the Target magazine articles that I searched on, and if you click on one of these, it'll come up with some reading for you on each one of the subjects from the Target magazine archives. And then eventually we'll have recommended books on here for each question as well. This is a living document. We hope to continue to improve this and update the links every 6 months. And that way, you know, you have something to use, but then you'll see new links that are coming back in here. The other thing is we're trying to eventually develop this as a software and not just an Excel workbook. So that would make it easier to update and do things with that way. So I'm very excited. If you click on the pyramid, it comes back to the pyramid. If you click on the house, it goes back to the main dashboard. So this may be a lot easier for you to use, hopefully, than before, where each was just a separate tab. But now everything's linked together. It makes it real easy, so I can go back to the main dashboard. So after you answer the questions and put in your gaps or your proof, then you can see the reports to see your visual pyramid, your report card, your radar chart, and your comparison analysis. The next thing that I did was I said, okay, if I'm a CEO, I don't want to read F's and D's and B's. So I'm like, I want to see what all the A pluses are. So if you click on quick reference to excellence, it's got each question and a checkbox for what really we have in the descriptions for A pluses. So if I want to print out 4 pages on all the A pluses, and I'm a C-level or executive that wants to see, you know, what are we missing in our company that excellent companies have? And I just want to look at A pluses. This is really all the A pluses that are in the Sensei. And so you can go through it that way also. Okay, so the other thing that came up was, okay, I'm just starting my journey and I have all reds and I don't know where to start. Okay, great question. So we created an AME Lean Sensei question broken into 5 phases. I call it bite-sized chunks. So what you have here is we have 5 phases. Building the foundation is phase 1. Phase 2 is expansion, focus, creation of pull. Phase 3 is integration and reinforcement. Phase 4 is reinforcement and momentum. Phase 5 is momentum and sustainment. And so in those, I went through and said which questions relate to each phase. And so if you wanted, or if you're just getting started, or you don't want to take all 65 questions with one mouthful, you can take them like, okay, let me see how I'm doing on phase 1. And phase 1, you look at these 13 questions. And so that way, you know, you don't get overwhelmed with this assessment. So this mainly talking about policy deployment, 5S, visual performance, waste reduction. Then after you get through there, you may want to step into phase 2, where you're looking at problem solving, pull value streams, inventory terms. And so these 19 questions are phase 2. Phase 3 gets into morale. You're getting into quality, and you know, you may debate whether some of these should be in the earlier phases or not, but at least use this as a guideline. So you can say, okay, this is 16 questions in phase 3. We're going to continue to improve it. Don't get me wrong. Phase 4 is these 9 questions, and then phase 5 is these 8 questions. So again, I like that, you know, if you try to do 200 things, nothing gets done. If you have a focus, then you can really focus and drive a little deeper. And so that's why we broke it into bite-sized chunks in these 5 phases. I'm also working, so like with Kohler now, we'll probably be looking at what is the 6-month plan for phase 1? What's the 6-month plan for phase 2? And how do you integrate this into these plants so that we can all get to a level 5? And so that's exciting to me as well. Okay, this is the first part of the assessment tool. The next part of the assessment tool is about solutions. And so the reason I made this particular diagram is because each one of these 8 elements create better quality results. They create better delivery results. They create better profitability results, and they create cost results. And that's the last 4 sections of the Lean Sensei. So these 8 sections are really the excellence sections that will generate results. And so that's why you look at it this way. Now, if you click on like any of these management system, it gives you all of the management system questions and tools and resource links, and also the target articles. All right, so you know, you can click on people-centric leadership and see respect for people, morale, problem solving, employee development, rewards and recognition, inclusion, equity, and diversity. And so then we have links to webinars as well as articles on each one of these things. Okay, then the next thing we wanted to do is create 3 classes for AME, like a one-day lean boot camp, whether it's virtual, which I just finished the Australia AME group last night. I did 2 3-hour sessions, which is a 6-hour session for an overview of lean, a lean boot camp, just getting started. So Kim Humphrey's online. She'll be getting other people as well to do these lean boot camps, but that'll be a resource that you can turn to into AME to get help in your company. The other thing is an on-site assessment with some of the assessors that are actually assessors for the AME Excellence Award. So if you click on any of these, it's a charter kind of showing you about the event, learning objectives and benefits for that particular event. And so what we try to do is create a class on just getting started, a class on an on-site assessment, and a class to become a better assessor. So if you want to become an assessor for AME, and so there's a 1 or a 2-day version where we have some of the trainers that train the AME assessors will come in and train you as an assessor. So these are 3 classes that we're really have already started, as well as fine tuning for our membership as a good place to start. This particular link takes you to the AME Excellence Award website in AME. So I just linked that directly to the site. This one takes you to all the events that we're doing each month. So if you wanted to sign up for Kanban, or if you wanted to sign for leadership webinar or something like that, it'll take you to what's currently going on. So instead of updating this Excel sheet, I just linked it right to the AME.org website. The other thing is we'll hopefully continue to do 2-second lean tours, but we also have a lot of those in our archives with Paul Akers, and he'll take you through some really good plants to get ideas from as well. The next thing on resources that you'll see on the Lean Sensei is a book library. So if you click on this, it has books in each category that you would want to see. So if you want to look at sustainability, Doc Hall wrote Compression Thinking. And so these books are really from keynote speakers that we've had. Of course, I had to throw my Southern Sensei book in there, excuse me, but at least you can see I do have a book. But also John Dyer's great book, as well as Becky Morgan wrote Manufacturing Mastery, so and so on and so on. So I tried to really put a lot of the champions books in here, as well as keynotes and people we've done roundtables with. And so they're all in categories. And we're actually going, and if you click on any of these, it takes you to the Amazon website, and AME actually has a deal with them where they get a little bit from that as well. So that's great, right, Jeff? I think that's right. So, but anyway, this is kind of a library of lean books that you can choose from based on the subjects. The next thing you will see is I took all of the previous recipients of the AME Excellence Award. And so from 2010, we got to update 2020, 2021 But if you click on any of these companies, it'll give you a 15-minute video to show you what excellence looks like. And so it's usually the video we show at the conference. So I linked them all together on one page. So if you want to see what excellence looks like in any of these companies, you can click on it and you'll see, maybe get an idea or two from that. Going back, next is the AME Lean Sensei video dashboard. So how do I keep track of all of the webinars and by what subject? So I made a link. And so if it's blue, there's actually a link to a webinar. And this is each question in each category. If it's yellow, we're still connecting, you know, good webinars to the sensei. So we still are going to fill those. But if it's blue, there's a link to a webinar on each one of the questions in each category. Also, started putting in tools and links to tools, as well as other webinars that we've had. So what this does, it gives AME the ability to take all of that great information from our conferences and from our events and gives it to the membership in a way they can still use it. They may not have even been at that event before, but they can go back and see it and get some ideas. We have some keynotes on there, as well as tours. In the ditch towing is one of my favorites, quality products, and so on. And so I tried to start putting some really good plant tours in here for videos as well. So this is your video dashboard that links into each question as well. The other thing was the target articles. And so you can see I took each of the areas and tried to have a link to target articles on each one of the categories. So we can keep track of all the different target articles and how they can be used again and take them out of the archive, and still they're relevant in many ways to what you're doing based on the subject you need help in. Lastly, we have the tool selector guide. I put this on there. It's something that I've had for a while, but if you want to reduce variation, then try DMAIC. If you want to communicate financial performance, then you need to look into lean accounting and so on. So this kind of gives you, if you want to do this, then look at this particular tool, and just gives you some guidance there. And lastly is the Lean Dictionary. And so what is 5S? What is A3? What is breakthrough objectives? What is changeover SMED? And so on. So I try to put as many terms, whether they're lean terms or Japanese terms, so people can know what that's all about. So we have a Lean Dictionary there as well. This is the Lean Sensei, and I'm very excited about it because it's going to help me here at Kohler, I know, as well as hopefully any of you through AME. But I wanted to give you a few minutes to ask questions about it and get your feedback so far on what we're doing.
Wow. Mark, I can only say, I mean, wow, I see some amazing work comments that are coming in right now. I was first introduced to the Lean Sensei back in 2018, 2019. It was such a helpful tool at that time, but you've added so much more since 2019. I think you've been busy during COVID the last couple of years. How long did it take you to get, I mean, are you constantly every couple of months working on it? How are you getting feedback to make the enhancements? Can you tell us about that process?
It was a day here and there. And then of course, Michael Bremer and Jeff Fuchs, and there's several people on this call that had a lot of edits and help with that as well. But, you know, I had a few days here and there, and I would just keep working on it, and it kept developing, and I'd bounce it off people, and it turned into this. And it's just part of the way there, because you know what you didn't see on here, eventually we're going to have a sponsor area. And so honestly, this will bring revenue into AME to support somebody on staff always connecting new material to the AME Lean Sensei. So for instance, if I have a sponsor area and I need to know some resource for 5S, then they can click on the 5S store if they're a sponsor, or they can click on visual management if they need help there. So I can see this being a virtual expo. Instead of having a one expo for 1 week a year at the conference, you can have a virtual expo. If anybody's using the Lean Sensei, we can have sponsorships, but also that'll drive them business from whoever's using the Lean Sensei. So there's a lot of great things that can continue. The other big thing that I want to see done is, one of the things that we've talked about is having an Octagon of Excellence at the conference and the expo. And at the Octagon of Excellence, it's each of those 8 categories. And we want to have a competition where people will bring in their best practices and share them at the AME Excellence conference in Dallas, but also have our exhibitors put their best practices on the inside of the Octagon, and we'll have our members put their best practices on the X side, because AME is all about share, learn, and grow. So how better would it be to share? So it doesn't have to be an AME Excellence Award, but it can be who's got the best practice in people-centric leadership, who's got the best practice in each one of those categories. And I think that'll be fun as well. And that then brings it to a future state of having a best practice archive instead of just webinars and target articles. What are some of the best practice visuals that we've seen over time, instead of, I call them islands of excellence. You only see them when you go there. You can actually have an archive of best practices for AME, and that's also going to help everything. And so I think it really is turned into something pretty cool, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Well, we sure appreciate that you pulled everything together and made it easy with the links to videos and book library and so forth as well. The folks in the healthcare world wants to know, when is the new version of this going to be available for them?
Yes, and so that's a great question, and Michael Bremer is under the pressure, under the gun to look at that, since he's I will tell you, this is kind of neat. I did 2 Lean Six Sigma black belt classes for Georgia Tech, and they were transitioning Army people going from the Army back into, after they're retiring or whatever, they wanted their Lean Six Sigma black belt. Well, some of them didn't have a black belt, and so 2 of them got together, and instead of an emerging leaders group, they did an Army emerging leaders group. And so also this last time, 3 people did an Army Lean Sensei, so they could use the questions in their company, and they had to fine tune and change the questions. But I see it more than just healthcare and industry. It can also be used in the military and other places with that kind of thing. And so who knows where this is going to end up. We're actually looking at working with a company on putting it into a software application to make it even easier. But hey, I think people today need some help. And so why not go ahead and introduce this to everybody? And I think the more you can tell people about it, the more you can share it on your network, the better AME is going to be and grow. And that's what we want to see as well.
Yeah, that app idea sounds very exciting for the next.
Well, the app didn't work out too well. I think it's going to have to be a website. The app was okay. We did that in 2016, but there was just not as much functionality at that time. And it cost some money for AME to do that, but it helped with marketing a little bit. You can get the 60 questions on an app if you go to the App Store for Apple. But also a lot of people don't have Apple. So if we have it in something like a software website portal, then it's going to be better. So that's kind of what we're driving toward right now.
Right. So I know you mentioned you did a little work each day, probably some days a little bit more time than others. If you could put a time on how long it took you to build the dashboard, what would you say? How long did it take you to build that?
That was the easy part. This is a secret of Excel that I think not many people use. You can take a picture and right click on it on Excel and link it to any of the pages there. So it's developed over time. And but that's the easy part. And I do that. So one of the things that I tell people, even working in the office or in healthcare, if I go up to accounting and they don't know what we're doing lean for in accounting, I'm going to say, don't you realize that everybody that wins in sports has a playbook, like World Series, Major League Baseball, they have a playbook. So, okay, accounting, I'd like to see your playbook. And they're looking at me funny. And I'm like, okay, what if you had a SIPOC that described accounting, their customer, your suppliers, inputs, processes, outputs, and customers as a one pager at the front of that playbook. And then each one of those processes are defined in the next 10 pages. You map the processes. Then you put in the acronyms in the playbook. You put in how-to section. You put in best practices. So if you have a playbook in accounting that you can continue to work on, and you were to give that to a brand new employee that just started, how would they be more up to speed than what you're doing today? Can you give them a playbook? And so I've started looking at that as far as I did that with Excel. So I'm like, let's have a dashboard. This is the table of contents. And so I can just easily click on and create a loop back and forth to each one of the tabs on the workbook. And so those are some of the kind of things. I've created a DMAIC dashboard that you haven't seen for the Georgia Tech folks that were in my link. So I had under define, I had each button that linked you to a charter, that linked you to each section of the D and DMAIC. And then, each one of those, I have a whole dashboard on the DMAIC. And so it links you. So the whole Georgia Tech Lean Six Sigma group can easily just use that workbook and fill it out and not have to go to Minitab. They can actually do the charts in Excel. And so there's other software there. So there's some pretty cool things you can do with those links. This is just an example of that, but I would encourage everybody to think about use what you have. And why did I get into Excel so much? Well, early on, I decided, well, I can learn a ton of different software and be halfway good, or I can go deep into one software like Excel or PowerPoint and kind of do everything on that. So you'll see that I do my value stream maps on Excel. I do my plant layouts on Excel. I'll get the PDF and put it on Excel and overlay it with draw tools and delete the PDF. And I got the whole plant to scale in Excel. And so I can do the whole thing in Excel and make templates so that my process maps can be there. Everything can be there in Excel. So there's a lot of fun things you can do. I don't have to have Adobe. I don't have to have AutoCAD. I don't have to have all these things. I can still do these things very easily with Excel. Now, there's a place for everything. Don't get me wrong. But at the time, I didn't want to have to learn everything halfway. I just wanted to deep dive it. So that's what I did on second shift in TDK when I was in my 20s. So
That's pretty cool. I really enjoy working with Excel. I know you can do quite a bit with it, but you've taken it to the next level, Mark, there. I have to borrow some of your templates that you've created there, especially the value stream mapping one in Excel. I have not thought about Excel for that one. Okay, so see, there are some additional questions that have come in. Your strategy for linking other data is perfect. We have done the same thing with Kanban. Oh, so it's more of a comment. So one of our participants says they've done the same thing with Kanban cards and QR codes with great success as well. So you're able to make a connection here with others. You know what, you mentioned that there were some additional questions that were added to the Lean Sensei around the areas of equity and inclusion. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that came about and what is the purpose or goal with the additions of those questions?
So yes, so this is the one question, inclusion, equity, and diversity. And actually, Billy Taylor and Vanessa Harrison Chambers, they actually put this question together for us. So they are the gurus when it comes to this anyway. And so it was great to get their feedback on it. And so we put this question in there as people would want to see where they are in this particular category. The other one was technology. We put in 4 technology questions. One, and actually Michael Muhlenberg was influential. He's in 3M and actually is head in their technology area. So he was the most influential in the 4 technology questions. So how do you scout and evaluate new technology? Manufacturing technology, as far as in the manufacturing world. How do you look at big data and analytics? And then people and technology are the 4 main questions there. And so as we get more and more into robotics and 3D and AI and augmented reality and all these other things, how are you selecting the technology that's working, that makes a difference? How are you looking at it in the manufacturing world? How are you looking at analyzing things with big data and analytics? And then how are you working with people and technology as well? So that kind of,
Awesome.
that really helped also with those 5 extra questions.
Great, thank you for that. I see another question coming in here. Someone mentioned along the lines of equity and inclusion, they like that you've incorporated that into it. And sustainability and the environment is a big topic today. Any thoughts on how to incorporate that?
So it is incorporated into the, and so we're working on that a little bit more, but we have 2 safety questions and 1 environmental question, and I'll have to find it. But that's changed a little bit. We changed a little bit of the wording because we thought it was more important to have 2 safety questions and 1, instead of, we had 1 energy and 1 carbon neutral, and now there's 1 environmental instead of those 2, and we made two safety questions in there. So you can review those on your own. And again, I encourage everybody to give feedback, and we're not going to change this for 6 months, but we want to have that changes up and coming. There needs to be a regular cycle for improvements. This is a living document. So if you have some suggestions for us, please send those to myself or Michael Bremer, and we're going to continue to incorporate those, in a cycle.
So Mark, you mentioned we. So who is we? And because I know you connect with a lot of people, you're getting feedback from various people. Who's part of the we that helps to final review recommendations, questions related to the Lean Sensei before it gets live and out there on the living document?
So the key is actually the awards committee. There's a whole committee for the AME, and so we've kind of combined the Lean Sensei committee into the awards committee. Larry Anderson and Michael Bremer are kind of the key focus points that I try to bounce everything off of, as well as Jeff and others. And so then what we did, we took it to a lot of other consortia leaders. We took it to a lot of other people before we published this, and we made those changes actually last week, and some of the changes that they had recommended. So we wanted to get something out that was fairly 90% there, at least, that you can use, and there's a lot of functionality to it. But we realized that we always want to improve it. But yeah, that the AME Excellence Awards Committee, I don't know, I can't name them all, but mainly it's Michael and Larry are my 2 right hands for those as well.
Right. Sounds like a lot of leaders in the lean world providing feedback and helping to put this tool together. Thank you. Let's see, is there any other questions that have been, that the audience has that you'd like to chat in? Please do that now. While you are getting those additional, if there are any additional questions to add, let me mention the poll. A poll will be popping up very soon. It's a couple of questions, so please scroll through the poll. Provide us some feedback. Give Mark some feedback on how he can help make the presentation better. Maybe additional questions or concerns that you have. Please put that feedback in the poll so that we can continue to make improvements. And Mark, as he shares the Lean Sensei with other groups as well, to incorporate that into his presentation as well. Let's see, I don't see any new questions coming in, so let's go ahead. Thank you so much, Mark, for your time today and sharing the exciting improvements that you've been making in the Lean Sensei. It sounds like every 6 months we can look for a little bit more enhancement coming into the tool.